Hey class, it's Mr. Dow. I just wanted to help you a little bit with finding sources for this project that we're going to do after paper number 3. It's a project where we're going to be looking for some further sources on the story that you wrote about in paper number 3. So to do that, I'm gonna run through a couple places to find these sources today. We're mainly interested in biographical sources, anything that tells us about the life of the author who wrote the story. Don't worry about what we're going to do with that yet. Really, I just wanted you to help you find the sources. So let's start with the library, our library, which I'm getting to off the Citrus website. Our library is set up to provide lots of electronic sources for various different projects that students do. Since we're just really using biographical type material now, what I would like to do is just kind of take a shortcut and go straight to here where it says databases. Databases are the subscription services that Citrus pays money for. All university and college libraries do that. And these databases basically are places where you can count on the sources here to actually be legitimate sources. So as you see, Citrus subscribes to many databases. So I would like to start under E on the ebook collection. These are actual entire books that we can get through Citrus on your computer. Hopefully you've already got your My Library account set up from previous class assignments, so this should be something you can do at home. All right, on the ebook collection, what I want to do here is let's take a look. Let's use Tim O'Brien, the guy who wrote Things They Carry. So I'm just going to type his name up in here and see what books we have by or about Tim O'Brien, the author. Let's take a look, and you can see we have 5 books here. On the list of ebooks, it says ebook under there. Sometimes they'll have listings here where they're not ebooks, they're print books that we have in the library. But these are all ebooks. Now, what I want to get is information about how the person grew up, the experiences the person had that somehow tie into the story. With Tim O'Brien, I know he did go to Vietnam, and then he wrote a Vietnam story. So I do have a lot of options here. I'm not going to go through all these with you. I just want to show you that it is there. I think let's look at one of them. If we're looking at the Tim O'Brien one, I won't use the PDF file. I'll go straight to the. I'd like to see electronically what we have here. The deal with the ebooks is that you have access to them as long as nobody else is using them at that time. So generally you can get on the ebook when you need to get on it. So. All right, I'd like to see a little bit more about what's in this book. So there is Tim O'Brien. I'm looking at Critical Insights, Tim O'Brien, trying to find some sort of guide, maybe oh, here we go. Fine. I knew this would come up eventually. I needed to see this. I'm not interested in critical context or critical readings, at least not for this paper. I am interested in career, life, and influence. So it's a pretty big chapter. And I assume this is going to be talking to me about Tim O'Brien and what he did in his life that led him to his kind of fiction. And let's see. Let me get to the actual. Okay, here. Okay, then we talk about his growing up in northern Michigan. This is what I want. This is definitely would count as a source. So I could go back to the previous sources. I could also take a look at a couple of these. I think they're not just about Tim O'Brien like the one I found is, but that doesn't mean they don't have valuable information. So one place that I think you should definitely look is in the ebook collection, and then once you get in the ebook collection, kind of sift around through there, look through the electronic indexes, and just see is there any material that's directly about the author's life. Now, let me go back to the databases. Another place you might look on databases to get maybe you don't want to look at an entire book, maybe you just want to look at a chapter. Try this, Gale Virtual Reference Library. Now, this is a place where we have reference books that are devoted pretty much to fiction, but because these are reference books, they're sort of our general information books, and they will generally have some biographical information here. I will just take the first search box and type in Tim O'Brien, and see what we have in terms of our reference books. There's 22 different volumes here, so a lot of these books are going to have chapters on his different writing, different fiction, but they will also have biography. Like you see here, biography, that's a critical essay. 25 pages on this story, but some of those, I know the way that short stories for students runs, there will be a couple of paragraphs of biography there as well. Here's a couple pages of biography as well. So you do have a lot of options here. The only issue with using something like Gale Virtual Reference Library is that the biography material you're going to come across here is probably going to be short. You probably get like a few paragraphs, maybe a page, which is helpful, but might not be helpful enough to actually use in the paper that we're eventually going to write after paper number 3. So I would definitely use this, take a look, see if there's something good in here, because you do have a lot of options, but also use the ebooks as well. Hopefully you get something like closer to a full chapter. Those are the 2 things I would use off the databases. I think there are other things here in these databases, but those 2 will get you most of what you can get through Citrus. I do want to say one more thing about if you decide to use Google. Google is actually a pretty good place to find sources when you're trying to get biographical material for fiction writers. However, as always, you want to be kind of careful about what you take. Make sure that it is something that has been published or has a definite author and has been published in a journal or something like that. With someone like Tim O'Brien, I'll just do this. Tim O'Brien. See, I've done this already. Tim O'Brien. Let's go biography. I'll do that. This is going to give me a lot of different stuff. Tim O'Brien biography. A lot of this are pretty short, though. I've already looked through some of these. We're not taking Wikipedia. We're trying to get more in-depth material than that. So I do have a lot of stuff here. Let's see. The collection. Tim O'Brien collection. Minnesota Historical Society, etc. If I take something like Oxford bibliography, that's just going to be a list of his work. I don't know. Tim O'Brien is one of the people who has actually spoken quite a bit to magazines and journals. So let's take a look at we have some Tim O'Brien interviews, which we do. We have some video interviews. We have interviews published in different magazines. He's been on NPR. Tim O'Brien's a guy who's spoken a lot about his writing, and so that is something that you have a lot of access to his actual words here. So keep that in mind as well. In other words, it's not hard to find biographical material. The purpose of the biographical materials is to eventually connect to the story itself. So if I'm doing Tim O'Brien, I specifically want to find material that tells me about his time in Vietnam, or his time before or directly after Vietnam, and his own experiences there. And that's something I could eventually build into a piece of writing. So that's Tim O'Brien. I'm going to go back and do a quick study for same kind of thing. Let's take a look at the ebooks and just use Charlotte Perkins Gilman, who wrote Yellow Wallpaper. All right. Here's another person who also has written a lot about her own life. I see this biography there. Well, let's put that in there since they gave it to me. All right, the ebook collection on her biography gives me 11 different sources here. Again, some of these are going to be just chapters in larger books, but some of them will be entire book devoted to her. I think sometimes when you get this book, it's not going to be all biography. It's going to be some biography and then some critical appreciation of her work. Here, I've got this book called Optimist Reformer. Now, it's definitely about Charlotte Perkins Gilman and her life. Again, go to your index here. What I'm getting here is a lot of different essays. I'm sure they're going to... This is actually more difficult to use than I would have thought, because I don't want to read this whole book for this assignment. So, yeah, I can look at this, but I'm actually looking for something a little more specific, where I'm going to get, here's a chapter just kind of covers her life. Let's take a look at this, her intellectual contexts. All right, again, I'm looking for this introduction. All right. So this is about not just... Well, it's about her and the people that she was around that influenced her. Let's see. Overthrown, Mrs. Stetson, Mrs. Shaw. No, it's too complex for me at this stage. I don't want all that. Let's see. Nation. Oh, these are books that are written. I can tell, since that's fiction, this is a book that she wrote herself. Now, one of these, or more than one probably, is a book that she wrote that's about her life. Let's take a look at Eternal Me. All right. Let's see. Eternal Me. This should be about Charlotte Perkins Gilman, about her writing about her own life. Okay, it's just a poem about her. Okay, I did not know that. I am sorry. Let's go. Let's do a quick Google search on her as well. Sure. Here we go. Charlotte. Well, actually, Charlotte Perkins Gilman has written an autobiography, and you can find chapters of that autobiography posted online. You just have to, when you do find something like that, though, you have to kind of consider, okay, what is that? What source is this? What book was it published in? What website did it take it from? Et cetera, et cetera. I've also found, looking through it myself, also found a lot of times when they have people have done papers on Charlotte Perkins Gilman, have done studies on her, and that almost always includes a kind of a run through of her life and the main events of her life. Here's an entire book online from Ohio State University Press. Certainly a good source. From looking at something like this, Yeah, this is the kind of thing that I think I would want. I've got a lot of different information here that starts getting into, again, critical appreciation of her work. But the first part, biographical and critical overviews, I think that these two kind of chapters are places where I could actually find specific information about her life. So that's kind of what I want. That's basically what we're doing here. Is we're using the ebook database, the Gale Virtual Reference Library database, and Google, and we are looking specifically for biographical information from a valid source that helps us understand the author's life in the context of that story. So if I did Yellow Wallpaper, I want information that maybe connects Charlotte Perkins' life specifically to the kind of things going on in the Yellow Wallpaper. The stories that we have assigned for this for paper number 3 are all written by authors that do have some definite connection to the material they wrote about. They didn't just make it up. So that is what you're researching here. I'm not worried about what the actual paper assignment is yet. I just want to get the information. So this week's assignment, find me a couple of sources that you think have a decent amount of material, more than just a paragraph, that would give us some biographical insight on the author. All right, I think that's all I have to do for today on this. Let's see if I can find the original screen recorder. Here we are. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop you right there. And yeah, keep going. Let me know if there's any problems. Okay.